LSU and Alabama, one of the SEC's biggest rivalries, one of college football's most pivotal games every single season. Every time the Crimson Tide take on the Tigers, there is so much at stake, so much talent in this football game, and it's always a super fun one to watch. Who remembers 2019 when LSU came into Tuscaloosa, into Bryant-Denny Stadium, and took down the Crimson Tide with Burrow, Chase, and Jefferson? Who remembers the very next year when Alabama enacted revenge on the Tigers, absolutely mauling them in Death Valley? Who remembers 2 years later when Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas took down Bryce Young? And who remembers last year when LSU and Alabama was a playoff elimination game? It was a night game in Death Valley, and the Crimson Tide came in and stole the Tigers' hearts in a whopping victory. This game means so much to both of these teams, to both of these fan bases, and I'm really excited to talk about it this year. This game had a lot of steam at the beginning of the season. Everyone around campus at Alabama was talking about the LSU game all the time. It's going to be a great game. Everyone wants a ticket to it. It's got so much buzz for most of the first half of the college football season. And then all of a sudden, LSU really started to struggle. And now the game has really lost a lot of its juice. Alabama's a 10.5-point favorite. A lot of people don't think this game's going to be very close. And Alabama, they've won 12 of the last 14 against LSU. So they've pretty much owned this rivalry the last 14 years, and they're heavy, heavy favorites. Well, I'm here to tell you that this game is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. That, at least, is my opinion. Of course, I usually start these previews with talking about one team's offense and how I think they're going to fare against the other team's defense, and then flipping it around. But for this preview, I'm going to talk about LSU's strengths and weaknesses first. That's just what I'm going to discuss. So what I believe are LSU's strengths: A, they're very, very talented. That remains to be true. No matter how many games they lose, the talent profile on this team, to me, is still elite. They've got great recruiting classes, one of the number one transfer portal classes in the country. I do think this LSU team, no matter what, no matter who's their coach, no matter what their record is, they're still very talented. They're also really, really great in the secondary. LSU secondary is one of the elite secondaries in college football, in my opinion. I think that they are really good, especially in man coverage. They have a couple really, really good corners that can really play man coverage really, really well. And I think that the main reason they keep getting gashed in games against Vanderbilt, against Texas A&M, is because they are getting creased up in the run game. They have not been able to stop the quarterback run. With Pavia, with Marcel Reed, even with A&M's running backs, they have not been able to stop the run. And because of that, they are really, really, really struggling. But their secondary, in my opinion, has still been really elite. So I'm not worried about that if I'm an LSU fan. Their other strengths, just the numbers. They're top 5 in the SEC in pass defense. That just is a thing to look at. And they are potentially very explosive in the pass game through the air. They have good receivers, guys. Their receivers, for the first time in a long time, look to be mostly healthy. They've been banged up. They've been injured all year. But now I think Aaron Anderson is supposed to play in this game. I could be wrong, but I think he is. Nick Anderson, Darian Brown, Xavier Thomas, and then Trey'Nez Green are all supposedly playing in this football game. And, of course, Garrett Nussmeier, I know he's struggled recently, but we know he has it in him to play really, really good football. My opinion on Garrett Nussmeier, I think he is best when he's playing like he has nothing to lose. Like when he came in for Jane Daniels in the SEC championship game, or his first season at LSU. Yeah, he threw a lot of interceptions. He threw some questionable footballs, but he didn't care. He was out there playing. He was having fun. He was pushing the ball down the field, and he had no fear. And I think this offseason really got to his head. I think that, he heard all the talk about him being the best SEC returning quarterback in the country. You heard all of the talk about him being a first-round draft pick. You heard the talk about him being a Heisman Trophy candidate. And I think that went to his head a little bit, and all of a sudden he put expectations on himself. And now he's playing football like he's frustrated. He has these expectations, and when he messes up, when he makes mistakes, he gets mad at himself, and he gets frustrated, and it just doesn't work. So he needs to forget all of that, in my opinion, and he needs to just go out there and have fun playing football again. If he does that, then LSU's passing offense could be explosive once more. Of course, their offensive line is very much a weakness, so Alabama's defensive line could maybe take advantage of that. We'll see. That's just another thing to look out for. But those are LSU's strengths. LSU also has a lot of weaknesses. We're going to get to those now. I already touched on one of them. They cannot stop the run right now. They have not been able to the last couple games. In my opinion, that's the main reason why they don't have control in any of these games, why they can't close games out, why they're getting dominated in the second half, is because teams are just running the ball down their throats. I mean, A&M ran like the same jet sweep like 3 times in a row and cooked LSU. And then they run quarterback counter off of it, and Marcel Reed has a crease for like 20 yards. So they really cannot stop the run, in my opinion. And on the other side of the football, they also can't run the ball. LSU has not been able to have an explosive run. Well, they have very rare explosive runs, but they haven't been able to maintain a solid, consistent run game all season. It's just not happened. And it's really, really hard on an unhealthy quarterback who has banged up wide receivers to not give him a run game and to make him do everything himself. It makes it really hard on that quarterback. So for LSU to not be able to run the ball, it's a big deal. It's not great. So those 2 weaknesses: can't stop the run, can't run the ball, and also Brian Kelly's their head coach. So that is never. Oh wait, he got fired. Brian Kelly is no longer there. How about that? Weakness gone. If I'm an Alabama fan, I see Brian Kelly getting fired, and I am scared. And if I'm an LSU fan, I'm seeing Brian Kelly getting fired, and I am amped up. Because guess what? This team has its identity back. I really did like Brian Kelly. I thought that he didn't understand what it meant to be the LSU football coach. I don't think he provided anything schematically to this football team. I mean, you could claim that he's a defensive guru. Well, if he is a defensive guru, then how come your defense was so terrible the last couple of years? You could argue that he's an offensive genius, that he really elevates quarterbacks and wide receivers and makes the team so much better. Then how come your offense is so terrible this year? I don't understand what Brian Kelly was really providing this team other than talent acquisition and talent development. But schematically, I don't think he gives very much. I think that with the interim head coach, I think LSU is going to play with their head on fire. I know I still have Brian Kelly in this thumbnail right now, but he's not there. I just didn't update that from last week. I think that that's an advantage now that they don't have Brian Kelly. So that's what I think about LSU. Those are their strengths and their weaknesses. In terms of Alabama's strengths and weaknesses, their strengths, they're great on third down. They have a great secondary, and they take care of the ball, and Ty Simpson is very, very good at what he does. Their weaknesses, similar to LSU, they cannot run the ball. They have not been able to successfully run the ball all season long. They have gotten torched by speed rushers a lot this season, whether it's Dylan Stewart, Damon Wilson, Zion Young, Jordan Ross, Joshua Joseph. They have gotten cooked on speed rushes. And to beat speed rush, what you do is you run the ball up the middle because the D lineman can't influence that, or the outside edge rushers can't influence or run up the middle. And Alabama can't run the ball up the middle. So that's just another reason that they're struggling against speed rush. And also, they've kind of gotten manned up this year. Like, a lot of teams have been able to kind of successfully run man coverage against this Alabama team. Tennessee, Georgia, and South Carolina, I think, really successfully ran man coverage against Alabama. Their receivers either A, didn't create enough separation, or B, were dropping the football. And then Ty Simpson, he's not perfect. He's a great, great quarterback, but he's not perfect. So he struggled a little bit too. And, I just think that's a little bit of a weakness. So when you combine the two, with what Alabama does well, with what LSU does not do well, and what LSU does well versus what Alabama does not do well, I think that we're going to get a very low-scoring, close football game. I look at Alabama's offense against this LSU defense, and I see an LSU defense that can't stop the run, but that doesn't really matter because Alabama can't run the ball. So I don't think they can take advantage of that weakness. And, LSU is great at man coverage, and Alabama struggles to score when other teams are running good man coverage. So I think Alabama is really going to have to rely on Ty making plays on third down a lot, and their receivers winning in man coverage. And, yeah, they're great on third down, but that is a recipe for a slow offensive night. And then on the other side of the ball, I think Alabama's front seven is way better than LSU's offensive line. So I think Alabama has the matchup advantage there. And I think Alabama's secondary is going to make life very difficult for Garrett Nussmeier. We saw that last year. So I just think this game's going to be ugly. It's going to be low scoring. If I were a betting man, I would bet the under in this game. And I honestly think that the team that really has a bad turnover or a big special teams play is going to have the advantage in this football game. But just from a coaching perspective, Kalen DeBoer is so good in close games. 2023 at Washington and this year, he has been unbelievably good in close games. Of course, 2024, they were not, but they had Jalen Miller at quarterback. I think that was part of the reason. So I think Alabama does win this game because Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb know how to win games late. But I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a nail-biter, low-scoring, ugly football game that Alabama finds a way to win. A lot of people are saying that Alabama's going to blow LSU out. I totally disagree. And listen, now that I'm saying that, Alabama's probably going to win by like 50 points. But that's just not what I think. I think that LSU is going to do a great job keeping it close. They're a very talented football team, and I think a lot of their weaknesses, Alabama's not going to be able to take advantage of. So give me the Tide, but give me the Tide like 23-17, really close. That's what I got on that game.